Hello everybody and welcome to the channel Out of Ammo, Out of Time. I'm your host as always, Krabby Terror 8, and here we are in episode, I think it's episode 21 of the Investigator games. Yes, and for those of you who are new to the channel, I welcome you. And we are here today with everybody's, well, I don't know if there's everyone's favorite, but certainly interesting, everybody's most intriguing and interesting investigator, Calvin Wright. Yes, now, if you haven't seen the investigator games before, it's like the Hunger Games. We take each investigator through true solo, and we see how they go. And depending on how they go, we start with their starter decks, of course. And depending on how they go, they end up in a league table like this. Now, the points here are carryover from the gathering. So if you haven't seen these poor hapless investigators go through the gathering first and then onto this, I heartily recommend you look at those in Season 1. This is Season 2, the Midnight Masks. And we can see there we've got quite a range of responses. Leo Anderson, Roland Banks, both Guardians topping the table along with Trash Can Pete, as we would expect. He always does pretty well in true solo. All the way down to poor old Jim Culver. Now, Father Mateo was last week. Sorry, spoilers. He didn't do so well. Started off pretty good, but things sort of went a bit haywire, as they can in the Midnight Masks. Anyway, so that's how it works. And spoilers, if you're new to the Arkham Horror the Living card game, I'm going to assume that you know this scenario well and that you could know how to play. If you're brand new, I would recommend you play the game first a few times, watch some introductory videos before you have a look at this. So yes, Calvin Wright, I have to say I'm not really looking forward to piloting him through the Midnight Mask. The Midnight Mask is hard enough without having to deal with Calvin's shenanigans. He really is quite a challenging player. I have to say though, on ArkhamDB, there's someone called Next Level Plays, who is part of the League of Extraordinary Investigators, who is a very good player, much better than I am. He has a whole write-up on actually piloting Calvin, and I'll put the link in the show notes. I would recommend maybe checking that out because he really has put something together which is very detailed and would really help anybody. I would certainly recommend it if you really want to take Calvin through some kind of scenario, because I think for those who know Calvin and know him well and know how to play him, he's really, really quite good. I'm not one of those people. Plus, his Fantasy Flight game starter deck was a bit of a train crash. So yes. So anyway, before we get onto his deck itself, just a few things about Calvin. He really is very different. I don't know what the developers were on when they developed Calvin, but they certainly pulled one out of the hat here. Yes, he starts with 0 of everything, which already tells you things are going to be a bit strange. Now, the way that Calvin works is he gets, for each horror on him, and he can take up to 6, he gets +1 willpower and +1 investigate. So the more horror he takes, so essentially if he's at 5 horror, he's +5 willpower, +5 intellect. Likewise, with damage, he goes up in strength and agility. So for each damage he takes, +1 fight, +1 agility. So essentially, it kind of turns everything on its head with Calvin, because you actually want him in a game to take some damage. You probably also want some trauma that you can carry over, because then he's starting a bit stronger. So there's always this balance with Calvin between being stronger, but also being close to the edge. And I think that's what they're trying to aim at here, that Calvin Wright is sort of a person close to the edge of madness or death. And that's when he's at his strongest. His Elder Side effect gives you no benefit, but you can heal damage or horror, or take direct damage or direct horror as well. So, yeah, it works both ways, which can be very handy either way, depending on where you're at. So those are his special abilities. If we just flip him over some of his, he takes survivor cards, spirit cards levels 0 to 3, which I think looking at Arkham DB, at least in the base cards, that's pretty much just one, what's the word? Mystic card, Ward of Protection, which is actually quite nice because you take a horror. So you'll see we've got those, and neutral cards. Yes, we'll talk about his various weaknesses and things in a second. But here's just a bit of backstory about him. Sometimes life gives you a choice: accept the lot that is given to you, or stand up for who you are and what you believe. Calvin chose the latter. On the edge of death, bleeding out on the side of a dirt road, he received a terrifying vision of the earth sundered and Yao, the love of his life, turning to ash in the vortex of a blazing inferno. Then Calvin made another choice. He reached out to the darkness and pulled it within him. He would not die. Not today. The world needed him. Yao needed him. There you go. So he's really a man on the edge, no doubt. So yes, indeed. So there we go. That's Calvin in a nutshell. Now, here is his Fantasy Flight Game Starter deck that we have upgraded. Unfortunately, we only got 3 experience in the Gathering, which really limited what we could do. So what we did was, and Next Level Plays actually helped me here, so thank you for that. Basically, we used our 3 experience to give ourselves Peter Sylvester upgraded. Now that's helpful in a couple of ways. He can soak sanity, but not really health, but he can soak up some sanity. He gives me +1 agility and +1 willpower, so that's good. And of course, you can heal a horror from Pete as well, so that's also a benefit. So he's in the deck. And the other one we added was just another Ward of Protection. Why did we add Ward of Protection? Because each time you use Ward of Protection, of course, you take a horror. So I'm hoping actually to get a Ward of Protection or 2 so that we can take that horror in that way. All the other things, like I said, I didn't make this deck. This is the starter deck for Calvin. I mean, it's got reasonable amount of firepower in here. We've got knives and baseball bats, so that should hold us in good stead. But the Midnight Mask is probably less about fighting, and the thing about Midnight Mask is clue getting, which is going to be our biggest challenge. So we do have things in here, though. We do have the flashlight. We've got look what I found. We've got a perception. So we do have things that we can use to help us get some clues, but we're going to find it a little bit difficult to do that until we've taken, 3 or 4 horror. So hopefully we can draw some acolytes. We can get them to hit us. I don't think acolytes give you horror, do they? Well, anyway, I hope that we can get ourselves some horror in a couple of different ways. Yes. The other thing is that our weakness was, amazingly, we drew internal injury, which is very thematically very appropriate for Calvin. Which of course you take a direct damage at the end of your turn, which again, if you don't discard it for a couple of turns, it's really quite nice in that way. So I'm hoping that that pops up as well. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. The other thing, of course, is we've got Dig Deep, which is going to help us with willpower and agility, but not intellect. And so if we've got enough money, we can use that as well to help us with some of those skill tests. Now, we didn't defeat the Ghoul Priest, not surprisingly, so he is in the deck and shuffled up, so he's there as well. We start with 2 physical trauma, so that's good. So I've actually, here we go, 2 fight and 2 agility. So we start at least with some fight and agility, although to be honest, I preferred some horror. But anyway, there we go. So that's Calvin. I have very low expectations for Calvin, I have to say. I think the Midnight Masks really relies on you getting clues, and we're going to really struggle with that at the beginning, so we're going to find it quite difficult, but we'll see how we go. Like I said, low expectations. Poor old Calvin might, if he survives, I don't think he's going to get many victory points from this. Okay, so we're here we are with 3 actions. I'll just read through the agenda and act deck. So, Predator or Prey. Lita seems convinced of a conspiracy within the city of Arkham. She believes that a secret cult serves the ghouls that live in the crypts beneath the city, and that several of the cult's prominent members are scattered throughout Arkham. As you begin searching for them, you can't shake the feeling that you too are being hunted. Action resign. You don't want to risk taking too long, so you head to safety with the information you've gathered. That's so not Calvin. And although he may resign, who knows? Uncovering the conspiracy, you have 1 night to find the members of this cult and unveil their plans. The more members of the cult you can find and interrogate before midnight, the better. Investigators spend 2 clues. As an action, as a group, draw the top card of the cultist deck. I've just remembered the cultist deck is in here somewhere. There it is. I'll shuffle that up. Yeah. And objective, find as many unique cultist enemies as you can. Add them to the victory display. If there are 6 unique cultists enemies in the victory display, advance. Note, not all 6 of them are in the cultist deck. So there we go. Now the Ghoul Priest is in the deck, but he's not traded cultist, which is interesting. So I think that's everything. I think we're all ready to go here in the Midnight Masks with Calvin. All we've got to do is wait for the and there he is. He's already bleeding, stumbling around the house. I think it's going to be a bit of a stumbling around Arkham for poor old Calvin. But oh, there it goes. There's the horn. Crowd goes wild. There we are. We are ready to do the next round in season 2 of the Investigator Games with Calvin Wright. So yes, here we go. So let's shuffle up our deck. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? Well, I would like a Ward of Protection because I want to get some horror, so that I've got at least something. I would also like Pete. That would be good, and a weapon. Get all those things. I think we're doing well. So let's draw 5 cards, and there we go. Well, we can't keep internal injury, obviously. We got our special thing until the end. Special thing. I'm great with words, aren't I? A special unique asset here until the end of time. It's a 1-cost asset for a Calvin Wright deck. Direct damage and direct horror may be assigned to until the end of time. So that's quite nice in one way because it just extends things. It can also be used, obviously, for its other pieces as well. So there we go. It's got Dig Deep, which is good. Guts is good. Emergency Cash goes with Dig Deep. So they're all good, but I might throw in until the end of time because, quite frankly, it's not what I need at the moment. Yeah, it's not what I need. So I'm going to throw that in and draw another 2. There's Pete. And there we go. We got a weapon and we got Pete. So that's pretty good. Let's put those back in and shuffle that up. So that was actually a great draw. I'm glad we did that. The only thing that would have been nice is a Ward of Protection because I'm not sure how we're going to get these clues because we don't even have look what I found. So that is a challenge. And there's no real way. I'm just trying to think. There's no, it's not like there are locations where you can take horror. Like in The Gathering, you can take a horror, obviously, for popping up to the attic. So that was something, but we don't seem to have that here. Yeah, so let's see how we go. So anyway, we've got 3 actions. We're ready to go in turn 1. So here we go. We'll kick off. So the first thing I'm going to do is spend 3. Bring out Pete, big man on campus. So there we go. So he gives us a +1 agility. I'm going to put them here. I don't normally do this, but with and a +1 willpower. With Calvin, it kind of makes sense to be messing with these because, you know, otherwise you don't know where you're at. So there we go. We brought out Pete. That was our first action. Now for our second action, I'm going to avail myself here of the house and draw a card and gain a resource. So I'll draw a card, get the stray cat, and I was hoping for, and we'll get a resource. Oop. Oh, I don't have my function on. There we go. Try again. There we go. Get a resource. And then for a final action, I think what we will do is... That was that one. So I think for our final action, I'm going to... I'm probably going to bring out Dig Deep. So we've got that in play as well. So that's all great for willpower. That's all great for agility. You know, we're already up to 3 agility, and we've got 1 willpower. But the problem is we've got no way of getting clues because we're currently at 0. And I don't think any of our cards help us with that. So we might as well just stay here until we draw. I mean, we can keep drawing cards and gaining resource. Oh, limit once. Oh, once per turn. So we can keep doing that. Okay, so that's our first round. I mean, it was actually not a bad setup round. We brought out Pete Sylvester. We brought out Dig Deep. Next time, I think we do another establishment round. We'll emergency cache ourselves. We'll bring out the knife, and hopefully we will we can get going with getting clues. I think Rivertown and the graveyard. Actually, I've just realized the graveyard, actually, you do take horror. I think you're all screaming at me now. You do take horror for failing to go into the graveyard. So I'm actually thinking what I might do after my next establishment phase is actually go up to Rivertown, get into the graveyard, take some horror. That's probably a good idea. Okay, so we'll move into the enemy phase. Of course, there are no enemies at all to speak of. So we will move into the upkeep phase. Yes, we get a flashlight. Well, that's good. That's actually really good. That's really helpful. We can do something with that. So that's good. I can see a path forward now. Okay, so that's the end of our upkeep phase. So we move into the good old Mythos phase. The first Doom is down on the table. I'll just shuffle up the encounter deck again. There we go. Okay, let's see what the lovely... I've just realized I don't have my chaos bag. Okay. Okay, so let's see what the lovely encounter deck has for us. And the encounter decks, we start with Hunting Shadow. You must either spend a clue or take 2 damage. Ooh, okay, well, I guess we don't have a clue, so we will take the 2 damage. This could finish very quickly, but that puts our fight up to 4. And our agility up to 5. Wow. So, that's something. But any more damage and we are dead, basically. Well, we can take 1 damage to repeat. I'm starting to wonder whether maybe keeping that until the end of time might have been a good idea. But anyway, so we are now like, we can fight anything and we can evade anything pretty good. All right, so that's the end of the Mythos phase. Let's move into the second investigation phase. 3 actions onto poor old Calvin here. Okay, first action. I'm going to spend 2. And I'm going to bring out the good old flashlight. It gets 3 supplies. Yeah, okay, that's my first action. Second action, I'm going to get a resource again. And I'm going to draw a card. Yes, Unexpected Courage. That's very nice. Yep. Third action. I'm not going to be fast here. I'm going to actually, I'm going to spend the resource. And I'm going to bring out the knife. I'm being really, really conservative here, but I want to make sure I'm all set up for anything. So there we go. That's our 2 hand slots. I might move this over here. So we've got our 2 hand slots set up. We've got no money. That was our next action. Okay. So I think we're set up now. I think we can go ahead and we could... We can basically get some clues now. So what I'm going to do now is next round I'm going to get the clue at the house with using the flashlight, go up to Rivertown, get the second clue there, bring out the cultist, and then I think we take a trip to the graveyard and take some horror. Yes, I think that's the plan, and then the horror will increase our other skills. So that's what we're going to do. You have to really think very differently with Calvin for sure. So anyway, and we've got some nice cards. So we're set up. So the only thing we're sort of missing is some extra resources to be able to dig deep. But to be honest, at the moment, I think we're fine. I don't think we necessarily need to be boosting that anyway. And we've got guts for willpower, so I think we're okay at the moment. Okay, let's move into the enemy phase. Thankfully, there's no enemies to speak of at the moment. Upkeep phase, we get Dumb Luck. It's not a card that comes up a lot, but for Calvin, it's not bad. So it's fast play. After you fail a skill test by 2 or less during an evasion attempt against a non-elite enemy, place that enemy on top of the encounter deck. Yeah. I mean, it's a bit situational, to be honest. But you know, might come in handy. We'll see. All right, let's move into the good old Mythos phase. There are 2 Doom down already. Let's see what the lovely encounter deck has. And the encounter deck has a locked door. There's something about the house and locked door. Anyway, it's where there's the most clues, and that is indeed at the house. Well, that's a bit of a bugger because we were going to get that clue. But that now makes the house a 4. Send that to the back. That makes the house a 4. So no, basically, that's kind of means we need to move on. I think someone's telling the gods of Arkham Horror, the card game, are telling me move on. It's time to move on. Okay, let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions on to poor hapless Calvin. Now, we could stay here again, but I think we need to get moving now. So let's move to Rivertown. Flip. There's a clue on Rivertown. Okay, here we are with good old Rivertown. Yeah, it's only a 1 shroud location, but we have 0. Well, we could use Unexpected Courage, of course, but we don't need to do that because what we can do is we're going to investigate as our second action. So that reduces it to 0. So it's 0. So as long as I don't fail, it's fine, because of course the way the Chaos Bag works is you can't drop below 0. So as long as I don't get auto fail, I go 0, Rivertown 0, equal, get the clue. So let's see what the lovely Chaos Bag has for us. Yeah, it has a -2. Place a Doom on the nearest cultist enemy. Well, that's a good time to get a -2 because there are no cultist enemies, and we get that clue. There we go. We've got a clue. Great. Now, for my final action, I'm going to attempt to move to the graveyard. 2 clues. Now, I said before that there's no way to gain horror, but there actually is, and it's actually quite a nice way to do it. So after you enter the graveyard, test 3. If you fail, take 2 horror or move to Rivertown. So we can literally fail and take 2 horror. So that's brilliant. So we are a willpower of 1, and that's because of Pete. So 1 versus 3. We want to fail this. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, which is 0. So we fail, which means we take 2 horror. Now, the thing is, we could go back and we could do it again. Do we do that? That would get us to... Yeah, because we've got Pete here. So I reckon we do. So I think we move back to Rivertown and then we do it again, because that gets us up to 2 intellect. And does that include... It's intellect and willpower. Because 2 willpower. So I reckon we move back. Next time we do it again, and then we can use Pete to soak up any further horror. And then we're really cooking with gas. Then we're doing well. We're doing really well. So I think we'll be fine. All right. So that wasn't a bad round actually. We moved away from the house. We went up to Rivertown. We got the clue there using our flashlight. We then, so first action was to move. We then investigated. And our third action was to move to the graveyard, but we failed. I'll either take 2 horror or move to Rivertown. Oh, good job I reread that. Yeah, okay. You must either take 2 horror or move to Rivertown. Okay, hold on. Yeah, you can't take 2 horror and move back to Rivertown. Funny how it always interpreted that way. So then we moved into the graveyard. We failed and we took 2 horror. So there we go. So next time, I'm going to get these clues because I'm now, what am I, a 2 on a 1. That's not too bad, is it? So, or we could move back to Rivertown and move in again. Yeah, maybe that's the way to go. And then we're done. Okay, so that's what we'll do next time. All right. Okay, so we move into the enemy phase. No enemies to speak of. So we move into upkeep and we get overpower. That's good. It would be nice to actually get the baseball back because I think we could take on the Mars Hunter if we do that. But we shall see. Okay. So, yeah, all good. So let's move into the Mythos phase. This is the 3rd Mythos phase. Let's see what the encounter deck has. Oh, and it has... I've forgotten Crypt Chill's in here. Bloody hell. I always forget. I always think of Crypt Chill and the Gathering, but I forget, of course, that Crypt Chill is in the Midnight Masks. Test 4. If you fail, choose and discard 1 asset you control. Ooh, well, don't really want to do that. Well, we're up to 3. So we can throw in the guts to make that a 5. So we can make that a 5. We can make that a 6. A 6 versus a 4. That's pretty good. Let's see how we go. 6 versus 4. We get a... No, we fail. Hold on. What were we? We are a 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. 4. Yeah, we just failed. Okay. Well, I think we're going to have to get rid of Dig Deep because I don't want to get rid of any of these. So Dig Deep's going to have to go. Oh, that was a pain. Oh, dear. We nearly got it, but anyway. Okay. So we move into the next phase. 3 actions onto Calvin. So I'm going to be a bit... Yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to move back to Rivertown. Then I'm going to move back to the graveyard again. So after you enter the graveyard, test 3. Okay, let's test 3. Chaos Bag. Oh, you're kidding. You're kidding me. You are kidding me. So I pass. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm going to try and get one of these. Okay, 2 versus 1. Let's see what the encounter deck... And then we get the -3. I can't believe this. I cannot believe this. Okay, that was a total waste of time. So what we did was we moved to Rivertown, then back into the graveyard, and we got a +1 against 3. So it was a 3 versus 3, and we got a +1, and then we failed to get the clue. So that was a complete waste of time. How frustrating. We'll try again next time, but Oh, that was frustrating. Okay, we move into the that was the investigation phase, sorry. Move into the enemy phase, no enemies to speak of. So we move into upkeep and we get cunning distraction, automatically evade all enemies if you've got 5 resources. Okay. So we move into 4. Doom of 4. We're really starting to... Time is moving on. Let's see what the encounter deck has. Oh, no. No. Oh, we have a clue. Phew. You must either spend a clue or take 2 damage. We cannot take 2 damage. We've got to spend a clue. So we lose our clue. Thank goodness we had that clue, though, because we would have been dead. All right. Let's move on. That was a close call. This Calvin, you're always on the edge. 3 actions. Okay, I'm going to try this one more time. Here we go. We will move to Rivertown. We will then move back to the graveyard. We will test 3, and hopefully this time we will fail. Chaos Bag gives us an auto fail. Yeah! Oh, yes! And the crowd goes wild. We auto fail. We auto fail the test, and we take 2 horror. So we're now 4 horror, which means we are 4 intellect and 5 willpower. So look at this now. We are... The good news is Pete's going to soak up any more horror. It's damage that's the problem. But we now have 5 willpower, thanks to Pete. We've got 4 intellect, 4 fight, and 5 evade. We are now super strong. I think we're ready to take on anything now. So in that light, let's investigate the graveyard. 1 versus 4, a -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, and we succeed, and we get a clue. Now we're cooking with gas. Now we can do well. Things are going well. Okay, so that was a much better round. So we moved back to Rivertown. We moved into the graveyard again. We auto-failed the test, took 2 more horror. So now we are a 5-4-4-5. Yeah, so things are looking much better. And then we succeeded, of course, getting a clue. Great. So next time, we've got to prepare ourselves for the Ghoul Priest. And we can get this clue and at least get a victory point. So things are looking up. Enemy phase, no enemies to speak of. So we move into upkeep. Ah, there we go. Now we get the water protection. So that's another horror we can take if we need to, depending on what we get. So let's move into the mythos phase, and the encounter card is here we go. Acolyte enters play. Place a doom. Well, it's going to flip over anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's just put the doom on. It could stay there. We don't need to deal with him, and the doom will come off. So that was perfect timing in terms of when that appeared. There we go. So all good. So let's move into the investigation phases. 3 actions on to Calvin. Now, yes, we are. The Mars Hunter will be upon us shortly, so we can deal with him. We now have a fight of 4. So we should be able to take him on, but we probably want to evade him as much as we can as well. So what should we do here? It would be nice to have the baseball bat, but anyway, we've got the knife. So that means we're fighting with a +1. We can even throw the knife and do some extra damage. So I think the thing to do is preparing for that. There's not really a lot we can do to prepare for that. I mean, we've got cards to help us with that. So I think the first thing that we do is we get this other clue. So it's a 1, and we are a 4. Chaos Bag gives us a +1. It's +1 today. So we get the second clue, which means we get our first victory point. And the crowd cheers. Every victory point is a victory for Calvin. We've got 2 goes left. We've got 7 in our hands. So what should we do? Because we could give ourselves some emergency cash. which would give us some extra cash. Yeah. What I might do is I might throw in the emergency cash. So that gives us an extra 3 resources. So we've resourced up. And then I'm going to draw a card. I know I shouldn't do that any fun, right? Another knife. Oh, that's good because that means if we throw the knife, we can bring out another knife. Okay. So that's our go. So I think we're ready for the Mars Hunter. I think we're ready to roll with him. And also, if we get to the Mars Hunter and the Ghoul Priest or something hunting Night Gaunt, we can automatically evade all enemies and move away if we need to. And we also have 2 clues. I'm keeping those for now because I want to deal with the Mars Hunter first, and then once we've dealt with the Mars Hunter, we can look to get something else. Okay. I just thought, though, we could have brought out Herman Collins, I suppose. It's possible, but, there'll be a 1 in 5 chance. So probably unlikely. Okay, so let's move forward into the enemy phase. There are no enemies to speak of yet. So we move into upkeep and we get an unexpected courage. That's great. That's 2 unexpected courages. That's, for Calvin, they're gold. And we've got a hand of 8, so we've got a full hand. That's great. So let's move into the Mythos phase. There we go. There's the 6 Doom down. Let's flip that over. Here he is. Hello, Calvin. Actually, I always thought maybe we could be friends. Anyway, so here we go. Graveyard, the Mars Hunter. Luckily, he doesn't have Retaliate or anything like that, but he does have 6 health. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Also, the other thing is that we can't, unless we can finish him off, he will kill us, literally, with 2. So I think evasion is the first thing we need to do with the Mars Hunter. So let's just take some time. He's worth 2 victory points. He's worth taking the time, and we can take him out. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Okay. Does dumb luck work here? No, non-elite. This is an elite enemy. Okay. So there we go. There's the Mars Hunter. Let's put out the time is running short. It is, but we knew it would. Okay. All right. So that's all that. But before we go any further, we've got to draw from the encounter deck. And the encounter deck gives us false lead. If you have no clues, we do. 1 or more clues, test 4. For each point you fail by, place 1 of your clues on your location. That is a real bugger because we would then the victory point. But I don't want to start using up these cards. We need to take. Oh, I know what we can do. Let's spend 1, and let's use the Ward of Protection. Ward of Protection, because I don't want to drop clues. Cancel its effect. Take a horror. So we'll cancel false lead, and we will take a horror. There we go, which means our willpower and our intellect go up even higher. We're really now on the edge with everything. So, yes. I mean, we could take 1 more damage, but we don't really want to do that because we would lose Peter Sylvester. Okay. All right. So there we go. So let's move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Calvin. So I think we just go ahead and, I mean, we need to evade him. So maybe the first thing we will need to evade him because we don't want to take we don't want to take any more damage, or we can't do that. So I think the first thing we've got to do is make sure we evade him. I could use cunning distraction, but I don't want to do that. So let's go ahead, because we're an evasion of 5 and he's a 2. So let's just go straight up and evade him. Chaos Bag gives us a -1, so we succeed. Exhausted. So he's exhausted. Where have you gone, Calvin? So that was our first action. Our second action is we're going to hit him. So we are going to hit him with the knife. So that gives us an attack of 5, doesn't it? 5, yes. He is a 4, but we can throw in overpower. Should we throw? No, we need to keep it at the moment. So let's throw in the overpower. So that gives us a 7. So that's a 4, 5, 7. A 7 versus 4. So a -3 or better. Chaos Bag gives us a -3. So we get that, which means we draw a card. Improvised weapon, very nice. And a damage onto the Mars Hunter. Ow! Where are you? So that was our second action. Third action, improvised weapon. Play improvised weapon from your discard pile. If you may play it from it, if you do shuffle it. Fight. Attacked enemy gets -1 fight for this attack. If you played okay. All right. Okay, well, let's go ahead and do that, and then we can play it again from... But then we're not using the knife, are we, if we're using the info? Yeah. But that's all right. So let's spend 1. Put the improvised weapon into our discard pile. That brings his fight down to 3. 3 versus a 4. Let's put in unexpected courage. So that gives him a 3 versus a 6. 3 versus 6. Chaos Bag gives us an auto fail. Well, that was unfortunate, but anyway, it happens. Oh dear. Okay, so that was a reasonable round. We evaded. We attacked. We did 1 point of damage, which means he's got 5 left. And then we attacked again with our improvised weapon, and we auto-failed. There we go. All right. I didn't think it was going to be it was going to take some time. If only we had the baseball bat, but we don't. Enemy phase. The enemy is evaded. Oh, and this doom should have come off here. Upkeep phase. We get our internal injury. Oh, boy. That's, yeah, take 1 direct damage. Ouch. Well, we can actually take 1 direct damage. That would actually be helpful, because that would increase our fight to 5. So it's actually worth doing, probably. It puts us right on the edge, but improves our fight. Okay. All right. Let's move into the Mythos phase. First Doom is down. We're running out of time, obviously. Let's see what the encounter deck has. I knew this would happen. We get a Hunting Night Gaunt. That's actually really unfortunate, because that's going to make it a lot more difficult to deal now with... What am I doing here? With the Mars Hunter. Because then we... it's really a bugger that Peter Sylvester isn't too, because then he... Yeah, anyway. Okay. All right. Okay. So the question is, do we still try and take on the Mars Hunter and just do lots of evasion? Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit dangerous, because if we don't evade, then we are in all kinds of trouble. The alternative is to evade everybody and move. I think now that the Hunting Night Gaunt is here, I think we need to, because I think otherwise we are relying on getting successful evasions twice out of 3, and if that doesn't work, particularly with the Hunting Night Gaunt, we could be in all kinds of trouble. There we go. All right. that changes everything. So we move into the investigation phase. 3 actions onto Calvin. Our first action, I'm afraid I'm going to have to use this cunning distraction. 5. Automatically evade all enemies. So we're going to evade both of these. I had a feeling this might happen and that we wouldn't, without the baseball bat, we're just not going to do enough damage quickly enough. So we've automatically evaded the enemies. For our second action, I'm going to move to Rivertown. And then for my third action, I'm going to spend the 2 clues. And we'll bring out the first cultist. Let's try and get a cultist. Okay, let's shuffle these up. Watch now, it'll be Herman Collins. No, it's not. Victoria Devereaux. Great, we spent all our money. Victoria Devereaux. That's all right. We can deal with that. That's all right. That's an easy one actually to get. So let's go and get that. That's good. Okay. All right. That's that. So that was a pretty good round, really. We well, kind of. We automatically evaded the 2 enemies. We moved to Rivertown, and then we brought out Victoria Devereaux. So we're just going to get 5 resources. All right, enemy phase. They're all exhausted. So we move into the upkeep phase. They're back up. We get another improvised weapon. Okay. Must remember that one's in our discard pile, that we can use it if we need to. Oh, I just realized at the end of your turn, take a direct damage. So we should have taken a damage, which means if we take a damage, that means our fight goes up to 5, our evasion goes up to 6. We can't do that again, though. Oh, no. We're going to have to lose Pete. I've just realized because we've got to move away. Oh, well. Oh, dear. Okay. All right, let's move into the Mythos phase 2 Doom. Let's see what the encounter deck has. And it has, if you have no clues, it gets Surge. I don't have any clues. So let's see what the next one is. I thought we'd done these. I thought there was none left. How many of them are there? Oh my goodness. There's the 2 false leads. There's a hunting shadow. There's any other hunt. Oh, there's 3 of them. Oh, I always thought there was 2 of them. All right. Oh dear, you must either choose one, spend a clue, or take 2 damage. And there we go. Oh, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Another physical trauma for poor old Calvin. So he managed to get one. He managed to get one victory point from the graveyard. Unfortunately, we just took too much damage. 3 hunting shadows. I didn't even realize there were 3 in the deck. I always thought there were 2, but anyway. We avoided one, but we couldn't avoid all of them, and that really was our undoing. I mean, we started with 2 physical trauma as it was, and we wanted some physical trauma, obviously, but unfortunately, it was just too difficult. It's possible we could have got Virginia and Devereaux and got ourselves another victory point, but Calvin will have to be happy with just the 1 victory point. So there we go. That's the end of the road for Calvin. He's certainly a very difficult investigator to play. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'm very glad to be back. It's been a bit of a break since I did some videos. I know I had a bit of a break, but I'm glad to be back. Now, next time, we will be taking the Guardian from the Forgotten Age through Midnight Mass, Carolyn Fern. An unusual Guardian, to say the least, and we will see how she goes. But until then, I'm Krabby Terror 8. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.